2 has entered the podcast.
Welcome back, people, to Player 2 has entered the podcast. That podcast about video games, nerd stuff, and friends catching up for the week. I am your co-host, Mike, a.k.a. MC Paperstacks, and with me, as always, is my co-host with the co-most,
Derek, a.k.a. Full Metal Merc, and we're back with another episode. And we got a special guest joining us this week.
That's right. Introducing Andrew Davis of PopAnimeComics. How you doing today, Andrew?
I'm doing great, and thank you for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Well, thank you for reaching out to us. I was humbled by the request, and looking at your content and some of the stuff that we're going to be getting into pretty soon, I'm very honored that you chose to guest on the podcast, so thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
So for those listeners out there who are unfamiliar with your work, give us a little bit of an elevator pitch. Tell us about PopAnimeComics. What kind of content do you aim to make?
I make primarily two types of content. I obviously have a website called PopAnimeComics.com, and I write about anime, comics, wrestling, particularly with a focus on military comics is sort of where I like to write about, and military anime. And so that's the writing side, and also I like to write about how something should have been booked. I really enjoy writing about that content, but I've been taking a little bit of a hiatus from writing to focus on the other content that I produce, and that is I do a lot of interviews with people who are indie comic writers who have projects on Kickstarter, or some mainstream comic writers that I obviously grow up reading and watching. And then I do indie wrestlers, and my goal there is to try to catch them before they go to the big leagues, as well as some of my favorite indie wrestlers that I watch on a weekly basis. I also do cosplayers, but I do a little bit different, where I'm looking for people on Instagram who do not get attention, who have really cool cosplays, who have less than 15,000 Instagram followers.
Like the up-and-comers?
The up-and-comers, and also the people who care about cosplay, and not those, nothing against people making money in cosplay or anything like that, but once you have 1 million followers on Instagram, you don't need my help anymore. And I would like to be helpful. I would like to find somebody who loves doing this and isn't in it for the money. And then the final group I deal with is voice actors. So people who work for Funimation and out in Cali and in New York. And I'm fortunate enough that I got to interview a bunch of cool people. And I'm sure when we get into some video game chat, I'll be happy to drop a few names. And that may or may not be why I'm playing certain games, because I know a bunch of people who are in those games, sort of. So,
cool.
Yeah, and I produce about 4 interviews a week on my Facebook channel, on YouTube, on Twitch, in my private Facebook group. I love it, and we just have a good time. The goal is we talk about real subjects on my show. We don't shy away from issues, but it's also a really entertaining, fun interview. And I think you'll be entertained if you watch me. I think you'll learn something if you watch me. And if you don't learn that or anything, you can at least make fun of me, my guest, or a variety of other people. And anything can be said in the chat. So feel free to jump in, and hopefully have you watching, and hopefully I'll make you smile for the day.
Excellent. All right.
Awesome.
That is an impressive amount of content. What would you say is the average length of one of the shows? You're putting out like 4 a week.
The average length is about 1 hour and 20 minutes.
Wow. That's
Live.
impressive.
Live.
Just doing an hour and change of this show once a week is a lot for me. I mean, to be fair, we were talking about it earlier. We're family men. You're kind of in your prime, and that stuff's on the horizon for you, so you don't have those responsibilities kind of tugging you away from this, and you're taking advantage of that. But even still, just listening to you talk about the amount of work that you put in to putting this show out exhausts me and impresses me. So, kudos.
So I will say this, though, that I have actually implemented systems. So I only do work and interview work on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, which has actually reduced the amount of time and stress on me. If I do become, and eventually I'm going to be, because I can't wait to have kids, it's going to be great. I can't wait to be married as well. One of the things that I'm probably going to wind up doing is that I might do 8 interviews on Sunday at one point in my life. And I'm thinking about it because I could write at any point. The writing and all of the background work in podcasting can be done at 3 in the morning if necessary. The question for me is finding the time to do an interview. So that's the only constraint. And given that I'm in my parents' house, they basically said, hey, you got 2 nights. And that's why, I do only on 2 nights. If it were up to me and I was in my own house, I'd be doing 2 on Monday, 2 on Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday, 2 on Thursday. I take Friday off, pour myself a drink, and then I would write like crazy on Saturday and Sunday.
Okay.
And then I would repeat the process.
Yeah, and scheduling is important. Lots of exciting stuff, it sounds like, that you got on the docket. Let me ask you a question. Considering that you do a lot of interviews across the spectrum of pop culture, including crossing over into video games, what is the most interesting interview that you've done to date?
Oh, man.
Or one of the most interesting. I don't want you to have to single anybody out and say they're the best or anything, but like one of the most interesting.
There are personal interviews with people that are always cool. One of them was with Chuck Dixon. Chuck Dixon created Bane from Batman.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got to talk about that. We also got to talk about pop culture. Also, for those who don't know, obviously comics, tend to be liberal. And Chuck is a very open conservative in the political world. He wrote the book, Clinton Cash. He didn't write the book. He did the adaptation of the graphic novel for Breitbart. And again, not trying to get too political, but the reason why that was interesting to talk about, in comics, you don't think of books and graphic novels being marketed towards anybody outside of a niche. And that book, whether people want to admit it or not, really changed the way graphic novels can be marketed, because Breitbart made a killing on that graphic novel. It was one of the best-selling graphic novels that year when it came out, because it hit a whole different niche, and it also got a lot of people who normally wouldn't be into comics. And we spoke briefly about it, and we're beating around the bush on it. And then the other interview that's super cool that I did is Howard Cruz, who's no longer with us. He was leading the gay underground comics movement. He was talking about a book called Stuck Rubber Baby. And he was also talking about how he was a gay man and how he was in a relationship and had a daughter with a woman. And all that stuff was being discussed on my show. So we're talking about real stuff. And then there's always the regular crew like Santine Phoenix, Keith Silverstein. I got to do a bunch of characters from Naruto, like Kalino Shaganasi, who plays Ino. She plays Tails from Sonic the Hedgehog. I've got to do Debbie Mae West, who plays Tsunade from Naruto.
Yeah, and she's
I can name drop. Yeah, she is. It's amazing. And a lot of fun interviews, a lot of cool people.
Wow.
I have some interesting people coming up in the next few weeks that I can't really talk about just yet. You never know who's going to be on my show. People stop in and people hit me up all the time.
Well, the politics angle does kind of interest me. We're left-leaning on this show. We haven't interviewed anyone aside from maybe my cousin early on in the first season that would lean more center or center-right or even right fully. Have you ever interviewed somebody who is kind of opposed to you politically, maybe on the opposite side of the spectrum? Did you guys get into politics at all, and how would you navigate something like that?
I mean, I go into enemy territory all the time.
What is enemy territory exactly?
I tend to be libertarian.
Okay.
And I deal with people who are very much not free market oriented. I tend to just speak normally. I treat everybody with respect. We start out our conversation very civilly and we disagree, and that's how the conversation goes. I don't have a problem having discussions.
Mm-hmm.
I have a problem when people start insulting me, attacking me. That's my dog.
Oh yeah, we talked about her. Is it he or her?
It's a she.
Oh, a little baby.
And she's 13 pounds.
Little tiny baby.
Jeez.
Yeah, she runs the house, right? That's what you told me earlier.
Yeah. She runs the house, so apparently she's gonna hopefully tire herself out.
So with politics, especially nowadays, I feel like they are very contentious. And I mean, you can blame discourse shifting to the internet. You can blame things kind of becoming or feeling more extreme. But I agree with you that when you're face to face with somebody, and really you should be doing this online, civil discourse is really what's going to get you anywhere, right? She knows what I'm talking about.
Yes, she does.
Yes, she does. I, too, try to show people respect and, again, try to avoid name-calling. My politics, I would say, I focus more on policy than anything else. And it sounds like that's kind of what guides your principle, too. While I would say that we probably would have some disagreements in regards to policy, you seem like a really good dude. And the fact that you're able to navigate this space on either side of the political spectrum says a lot about your integrity.
I'll add something that I get into a really interesting discussion. and this is very relevant. So I'm a business. From my position, my job as an interviewer is not to go through your politics. You know, sometimes it's relevant when we're talking about things, but when I'm talking to just a voice actor, we're talking about your work. You know, I'm not here to talk about policy. That's what a political show does. And that's why I get asked the question, why are you on Rumble? Why are you on YouTube? Why are you here? Well, the goal is that I want to be everywhere. Because guess what? People on the left, people on the right, a lot of people on both sides of the aisle like Naruto. They like anime. They like Sonic the Hedgehog. Because those things aren't political. It's just that everything has been so politicized because somebody says something about it and you got to pick a side. And I think in this country, not to get, too into it, but not everything is a political discussion. And we've done that in pop culture. And I think people need to say, look, are we either going to get along and keep what really is politics, or are we going to make everything political and go down that rabbit hole?
Yeah, and I think therein lies the rub, because from my perspective, everything is political. Now, whether we focus on that angle or discuss it or not, that is really, up to the two people having a conversation. But politics isn't just conservative versus liberal, left versus right, libertarian, or whatever label you want to place on it. It has to do with the socioeconomical conditions. It has to do with the creator. It has to do with the conditions in which things were thought up, the influences, the environment at the time. Politics is something that permeates because by its very nature, it is the landscape in which things are created, conceived, and then perceived.
It gets more complicated too, because there's also politics within politics. True. So I used to live in New York. I used to work in D.C. There's a joke in the House of Representatives where they say, the Republicans might say to the Democrats, the real enemy is the Senate, pointing to and that's a joke, meaning that while we disagree on politics, we're all in the House of Representatives. The real enemy is 5 blocks away. It's the Senate. And that's a joke. And so when you really go into this and when you go into politics, and I used to work in D.C., I spent 4.5 years down there. It's a very different landscape than what's happening between states. And then also states' politics are very different. And then you have a variety of other things going on. It's very interesting when things go on. When I say certain things aren't politics, when I'm playing a video game and I'm playing, Sonic the Hedgehog, I don't think that's political to the point. When I'm watching the New York Mets play the New York Yankees, I don't see politics in that. I see baseball. And all of a sudden, though, what starts happening is that everybody makes everything political. And that's where I think we have to call strike a strike and a ball a ball, because certain things are not political in my view. But everybody's gone down that path. I don't go and watch anime and say, oh, that's political. Or if it's a political conflict, well, that's in the anime. I'm watching Full Metal Alchemist right now. There's a political conflict going on. But I'm not saying, yes, this is America in a nutshell. It doesn't even come across my mind to think like it. If anything, I'm saying, well, it's probably more Germany than anything else.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, and that's what I'm saying. It's in the eye of the beholder, where you don't see politics, another person does. But I don't think that necessarily means we need to apply an agenda to it or say that somebody is artificially injecting politics. I think if someone is sensitive to it, it can be found. I don't think there's anything artificial about it. What I find interesting is that people will go, why do you got to make something political, often when something's being pointed out that they don't particularly agree with or enjoy, and that maybe diminishes their enjoyment of the thing that they liked because they weren't thinking about it from that angle. And I completely understand that. And I think I was saying a few episodes ago how I'm just getting a little bit exhausted because keeping up with this kind of stuff, while important in terms of progress and advancement or what have you, and again, that just depends on your angle, can be a lot. And sometimes you do just I want to mindlessly watch this, and I don't want to think about that the creator went through this time in history and this influenced the work. You know what I mean? So I completely get where you're coming from. I think a lot of people are like that. And I also completely respect the other side where folks are like, no, that actually adds to my enjoyment. But speaking of which, with all of the people that you've interviewed on both sides of the aisle and across the spectrum of pop culture and several industries, What is a big takeaway or something of interest that you've learned with talking with so many of these industry professionals?
Oh, man, I've learned a lot. Honestly, probably there's been two things that have been really a benefit. I don't know if it's learned, but it's more of an enhancement. I used to public speak before. I did a lot of interview work. I have 124 on my podcast. I am around, I think, like 230, 240 right now on my second show. So I'm going to be hitting over 400 sooner rather than later. I'm probably going to be hitting around, I think I'm going to be ending the year maybe like 380. So in 380 interviews, give or take, by December 31st of 2021, I've learned how to become a better public speaker. And I've learned how to project. I've learned how to enunciate better. I've also learned how to control a flow of a conversation. I've also learned how to do something very adult and how to deal with adult topics in my show. I've also learned how to let go of control a little bit and let loose and understand how to play into a guest. And it's a very, very good skill that when you walk into a room and you can match somebody's tone and match their body and mirror them and mirror their tone, you can connect very well with people very quickly. And so if I know my guest is very energetic, I'm going to be an energetic host. If I know they're a little bit tamer, I'm going to tone down myself a little bit so that I'm matching their tone and that it's concise between the two of us. And maybe I'm a little bit higher because I'm the host as far as my energy level. But it's not like I'm yippee and they're down all depressed like here.
Sure.
There's not a contrast. Those are the things that I've learned. And then you learn a lot about the comic business. I've learned a lot about what's coming down the pike. People have shifted my brain. And the side effect of that is that I've become a better investor in both, traditional assets and non-traditional assets. Because when you're exposed to more people and more thinking and they sort of hint at certain things and they sort of shift your mind, you start thinking a little bit differently. And I've done very well because of that. And people have sort of shifted the way I think and sort of have made me come to a conclusion where the future is going, at least in entertainment.
Sure.
And I think I'm going to be making a killing on several investments that I've made in the last 2-3 years. I think it's going to set me up as a good starting point with a good wealth building position. And the more interviews I do, the more insight I get into humanity. And then I know how to also take that and invest and use it as a data point for other things that I want to do. So really cool stuff going on.
Yeah.
In that.
I think Derek and I can really relate to the growth that we've seen with each other and just doing this podcast and meeting different people across the world. So again, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you and to learn more about you and your angle and kind of how you approach things. So let's just catch up with you at this point. What projects are you working on? You had mentioned a little bit about Kickstarter earlier and kind of what you got in the pipe right now. Catch us up on what's going on with you currently.
Me and Kickstarter are having a bad date is the nicest way to put it.
Okay.
They don't like the way I sort of wrote certain things on my Kickstarter. And I wanted to get approval by today. And then I wanted to start promoting it. And what I was planning to do on Kickstarter, for all those who are interested, is I was going to kickstart season 3. So I was going to offer some live guest reads, offer some guest spots, offer some bundle packages. I have a super secret creme de the cream item that a few famous artists might be working on. 1, maybe 2, depending on if somebody buys it. And then I also have an amazing digital comic bundle pack that is 26 digital comic books for $12. So for $12, you can get every book for 46 cents. And so I have 26 of those books, and some of the books in my digital bundle are not even out. They're coming out in February on Kickstarter. So there's some really exclusive stuff in my bundle pack, and I think that's the part that Kickstarter doesn't like. I'm waiting to see if they approve it. Otherwise, I might have to go to Indiegogo. I might have to go elsewhere. Pretty much, I'm just trying to raise some money so that I can continue to launch season 3 on January 4th. So I am legitimately going to be ending my season 2 on December 19th or 20th I'm taking off 2 weeks, and then I launch right into season 3 with another 150 plus episodes. Yeah, that's sort of what's going on. So,
well, hopefully you two crazy kids can patch things up and you guys can work it out by the second date. I wish you luck on that. We haven't had much experience navigating from that end. Kickstarter. I've definitely had plenty of Kickstarter disappointments. I support people that didn't make it. I'm like, oh. So I hope that you add to their long list of success stories. It sounds like you're driven, and even if you experience 1, 2, possibly 100 setbacks, that's not going to stop you, and that's inspiring. Being that it's a video game show, come along with us, Andrew. Let's discuss video games. You had me kind of interested with what you've been playing recently, so let me just formally ask, lately, what you playing? What you into?
So I've been playing Sonic Adventure 2. I'm so old school. It's not even funny. I'm playing that.
It's relative.
And I love it. I love it. My chows are slaying dragons, and that's the only reason why I play. Yeah, I play for my chows because they're the best thing ever.
The Chow side stuff is great, yeah.
I love it. I just bought Chow Karate. I have a Chow that's like super dope. Apparently, for those who don't know, there's a whole science to breeding Chows. And legitimately, you could spend hundreds and hundreds of hours and still get it wrong. And it's the most fascinating thing I've ever seen in my life. And I don't even understand how a game works like this, where there's so much detail into one little segment that really has nothing to do with the story.
It's surprisingly robust. I have to agree with you. When I first got into it, I was like, why is this? What is this? It deserves its own game for sure.
I also happen to like when Ian Flynn writes about the Chows, but that's a different discussion because he was on my show too. I love Sonic the Hedgehog. Beyond that, I've been playing Shantae and the Pirate Curse. Again, I know it's old school, but I also just love that game because it's a fun game. Because when else can I look like and have hair that whips like a pretty little genie? Believe me, we are all dreaming of Genie. Let's not kid ourselves here.
Yeah, Shantae has a huge fan base. And again, I mean, that beautiful 2D art style, that kind of side-scrolling adventure. Like you said, it's old school because people don't make a lot of games like that nowadays. So to have something like that come out, it really scratches an itch that doesn't normally get attention.
Also, they just released an art book for her. And that art book was phenomenal.
Oh, I bet. I mean, yeah, there's some great art in that game, in that series, to be honest.
And also, it's just fun. It's just a fun game, and I thoroughly enjoy it. And then I just beat Cyberpunk. But let me explain why I just beat Cyberpunk. Instead of playing Cyberpunk the traditional way, I played the first 2 missions. And then I decided for the next 60 hours to drive around the entire game in my car and sort of kill people and rob them and take all their guns. And I did it without any ammunition, so I'd have a huge stockpile of handgun ammunition so that I could power through the entire game in one swing without really having to do much upgrading or side quests or having to worry about anything because I had so much money and so much ammunition. So that's what I did for the first 60 hours, and I grinded like crazy so that essentially I could pretty much teleport anywhere I want in the game as well. So that I legitimately could power through the entire 7 missions in 3 hours, which was insane.
So you took the content that people would usually bounce in between exploration, side missions, and main missions, and you streamlined it to where you got all the exploration and resource gathering out of the way, and you did that in a 60-hour chunk, and then you started and shot through the story missions. That's what you're saying to me.
I did the exact same thing with Forza Horizon 4 as well.
Wow. Interesting. What do you do with your time while you're mindlessly grinding and filling out the map? I mean, do you watch TV shows? Do you listen to podcasts? Do you just focus intently on the game and nothing else? You listen to music? What do you do?
Well, I've done a lot of stuff. I did. So I'll watch something either on Netflix, Pokemon on Netflix, because one of my favorite people directed that. Lisa Ortiz was the American voice actor director on that. And she was on my show. We spoke about that too.
Oh, great.
So she's one of my favorite people. She still likes me, which is another good reason why I like her. But I've watched a lot of Pokemon. I've done a bunch of interviews while doing this. I think I've done like 15 interviews while playing Cyberpunk. I've been on a bunch of other people's shows just hanging out on a live stream while playing. What else have I done? I've listened to, obviously, podcasts, music, and, you know, sometimes you're just playing the game and just enjoying it. It's not like I sat down for 60 hours straight and did it, but also this was during the middle of COVID. So it's not like there was much to do else anyway. And also I was watching like some WWE pay-per-view stuff and a variety of other things.
Yeah, the two of us are big RPG fans. We know the grind. We know it well. And a lot of the techniques you described is how we usually get through as well. So I can relate. Anything else? I know you said you're on Game Pass. Anything else that you've touched or looked at recently that is of note?
Really, no. It's so weird. I was sort of looking at Halo, but then I just decided that I'm really not in the mood because unfortunately I've been like on a 2-3 week break from video gaming. I just beat Cyberpunk like 2 weeks ago. And also I just need something else to do because like I'm a little bit out of the video game world where I don't really see anything that I'm liking and that I'm feeling. And I'm having this problem where I've played all the good stuff. Like I played all the games I love, all the things that I'm interested in. And then I feel like video game homeless because I'm having the same problem with books. I'm having the same problem in comics. And I'm having the same problem in anime where at a certain point I feel, okay, maybe it's me and maybe I'm missing something and maybe I'm just ill-informed or maybe there's nothing good out there. And I don't know which one it is, but I'm open to suggestions.
Okay. I can tell you categorically, and I think Derek would agree with me, it's not the latter. There is good stuff out there. There always is. And I felt the way that you feel, the feeling that you're describing. I have felt that before. Sometimes it just takes a shake up to your life to view things with fresh eyes. It takes a perspective shift. Sometimes it just takes time to find that thing that lights a fire up under you again. But it'll happen for sure. I will say that, I know you said you were looking forward to starting a family one day. One of the benefits of having kids, and again, Derek, if you have something to add to this as a father, please let me know. I find that you start to view the world through fresh eyes. I've heard the word living vicariously through before, like that phrase, and it never really rang so true or garnered such an understanding in me until I had a kid. And I was like, oh, okay, I get it.
That's what that means.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Because you can kind of vicariously live through your friends, like when they tell you stories or your loved ones. But with a kid, just everything is new and fresh, and you're there for it, and you're teaching them, walking them through it, and the things that you found dull and kind of lost their shimmer are bright and technicolor and beautiful again. You'll find that throughout life, as you continue to push, and again, you're an active, interactive, driven person, you're going to have that ebb and flow, but that ebb is coming. And you know, we're going to talk about some games that we've been playing, and hopefully that'll pique your interest for sure. And continue to listen to our show because we talk games every week, people.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, Full Metal Merc, my good friend, what have you been getting into this week?
I got into so much this week. I have literally been playing nothing but the hits, apparently. I've beaten 4 games this week.
Wow. Holy crap, dude.
And
is that a first? I think since we started the show?
Yeah, I think, and I use the word beaten like loosely because some of the games are like short or whatever.
Sure,
but
whatever,
you know,
it counts.
It is what it is. Yeah, so I beat Lost Judgment.
Okay.
It ended up being it's really good, really enjoyable. The only thing with, like we said, with the Judgment games and the Yakuza games, they tend to drag just a little bit longer than they need to. It took me 21 hours to beat Lost Judgment, which is arguably short for a Yakuza-style game. Usually it takes about 30. But this was me just going through the mainline story, like doing no side quests, except for the ones that they presented me with. You could have shaved 6 hours off of this game and been good. There are some parts where it's just like, I already know all this information. You guys are talking about it over and over again. There's whole chapters dedicated around information I already know.
We got a phrase about that. It's called anime bullshit. Continue.
Right. But yeah, at the end of the day, I really enjoyed Lost Judgment.
Sure.
Don't let that turn you away from it. I like the first one better, though, for sure.
That's fair.
But this one, it's up there, but it's just not.
Well, maybe if you ever do have time where you go back and experience some of the additions in the form of the new side quests and mini games, that's kind of where it'll even out or shine. If you're coming to it just for the story, it sounds like that the first one is superior.
Yeah, I will say that you can play Sonic Fighters in the arcade.
That's cool.
Of this game.
Yeah. So
That
Andrew,
is good.
I mean,
that is good.
if you're in Lost
Sonic
Judgment,
the fight, yeah.
you go to the Sega arcade.
Like
Fire it up.
did I talk about this last week? I know I did a TikTok on it.
You
but
did
I
a
don't remember if
TikTok
talked
on it.
about
I don't think you actually talked about it on the show. So
My
was that
mouth
the
was
standout
agape.
this time around? Sonic Fighters.
Yeah, my mouth was agape like for a full 2 minutes as the intro was playing because I was like,
No way. This is game.
I'm in
here.
Chuck E. Cheese because that's where I used to play it at Chuck E. Cheese.
That's cool.
When I was a kid, and
Yeah.
like it didn't release physically for anything but arcades that I could get. So it was just like I got transported back to 1998.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
So-
Do you
so that was really good.
do you know how Chuck E. Cheese was founded and founded by whom exactly?
No.
Do I want to know?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Do we want to know?
I think the guy who is instrumental sort of in like bringing Atari over sort of founded Chuck E. Cheese.
Interesting.
Oh.
It's kind of
Oh.
crazy because it makes sense though, because you have all these video game cabinets, and if you're in the video
Right.
game world, who plays video games? There you
Kids.
go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's
super,
dope.
super cool. Super cool. But anyway,
Nice.
sorry.
Amazing.
That was actually a very interesting tidbit. So next, I played What Remains of Edith Finch. I've been hearing about it for years.
Yes.
You should play it. I'm sure Mike has told me to play it. I really loved it.
Isn't it wonderful?
Like, yeah, it's not
wonderful.
it's not your typical game. It takes like 2 hours to complete. It's literally just someone telling you a story about her family
Mhm.
and the different things that happen to her family. But the way that the stories are told is she finds little diaries of each of the family members or just pictures that remind her of a family member. Then you play the perspective of said family member going through like the letter or the diary or whatever. And it's just very unique, very interesting.
Very
It's very
creative.
much a walking simulator for
Mhm.
sure, but like
So
it's
so is it like Life is Strange?
Life is Strange, I feel like, is more narrative
No.
focused. And while this tells a story, it's less conversational and more perspective taking. So
right.
the main conceit is Edith Finch is part of the Finch family, and she revisits her family home. And the thing about this family is everybody dies untimely, usually pretty young. And so you
In a
find out how people
crazy-ass way.
died, and yeah, sometimes crazy ways. And you find out how people die or what their lives were like. And so, like, one family member may have been an actress, and maybe her final years or a story in a page of her life plays out like a Tales from the Crypt Keeper comic book, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds
Or-
kind
That
of
was really cool.
I love that
was-
part.
That was so cool.
Another one where a guy works in he's suffering from depression, and he works in a fish cannery, and he starts to imagine a whole nother world that you're playing. So you're like playing like a dungeon crawler while you're also chopping fish's heads off because you're technically at work, but your imagination is starting to take over.
Yeah.
Like the amount of
It's
creativity
creative.
and the lack of investment you need. It's on Game Pass, Andrew. Download this bad boy and just set aside movie amount of time to play it. You will not regret it. You will not regret
Yeah, I
the 2
didn't
hours
put
you
it
spent
down.
with it. I didn't put it down either. I
played it all
loved
the
it.
way
I
through.
finished it on stream. Yeah. So I'm so happy you
Yeah.
took me up on that and decided to play it.
Yeah, it was really great. It was really great. Zuma's Revenge. I beat Zuma's Revenge. Yay!
Yay, Zuma's Revenge.
Oh my god. The crazy thing is, I never beat this game before. When I got to the end boss, I hit them with one of the balls, and then they said, "Ah, you defeated me." And then they said, "You thought that was the boss? Actually, I'm the boss." And then you beat that. And he's like, "That wasn't my final form. This is my final form." It does the freeze of "It's not even my final form" thing like 3 times.
This isn't even my
and then
final
you finally
form.
beat it, and you're like, "Okay, thank you." But it was a great time, and I almost threw the controller a few times because you aim just off just a little bit, and you're like, "Fuck,
Yeah.
shit."
Yeah, I mean, speaking of old school, Zuma's Revenge, that's one of them arcade 360 originals, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. But I loved every single minute of it. Nora's always talking about, "Are you gonna play the frog game? Can I play the frog game?" I have her play it, and she's she does all right at it.
I have to be
Which is
honest with
surprising.
you. I've seen it before, and I've had zero interest in playing it. It looked like, yet another puzzle game to me. But the way I know the way you describe it, I'm like, I kind of need to try this out.
Yeah, it's so fun. Like, it's addictive as hell.
Yeah.
Next, I started the Pathless on PS5. I've
Mhm.
been wanting to play this game since I saw the trailer for it. It's basically a Shadow of the Colossus vibe where you're traversing, you're solving puzzles, and then you're fighting a big boss at the end. Like, there are no enemies, there's just bosses. It focuses on traversal. So you have to shoot arrows at these floating talismans, and they give you speed boost, and that's what allows you to dash throughout the world. You eventually get an eagle that lets you fly and glide, and it's just really beautiful. And I put it on HDR. All the colors pop. It's very nice looking. I can't put it down either. And I'm almost done with it. So
wow.
I'm thinking it'll be about 6 to 7 hours it takes me to beat it. It's very interesting. I actually got it at Walmart on clearance for like $4.
Nice.
That was on point. The next game, Gears 5. This has been on my backlog for a very long time. With the bad taste that Gears 4 left in my mouth, I was like, Gears 4 was okay. I'm going to wait to play Gears 5. Gears 5 is amazing. I absolutely love the campaign. It's a 4-act structure, and 2 of the acts take place in kind of an open world area where you ride around on this vehicle called a skiff.
Yeah.
And they actually have like side missions that you can go to and collect upgrades for Jack and whatnot. And I think what really did it for me is the characterization in this Gears game and the more personal story that they told as opposed to Gears 4. Like, I was in love with just about all these characters. Even Marcus coming back. Oh, so good. Like I said, I've been hitting bangers for myself, like back to back to back to back.
Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't reach out to do a co-op on that. You did that single player?
Yeah, and I had thought about it. And I was like, I really just want to power through this.
Fair enough.
Like,
you got a lot on
really
your
fast.
plate.
I put it on beginner, and I was just like, let's go. Let's do it.
Fair enough.
Next, Tetris Effect Connected. What can I say other than it's beautiful? The music that they put in the background and all the shapes and the animals and just the effects.
Tetris Effect is like my favorite
beautiful.
Tetris game outside of maybe Tetris DS, but that, I mean, it's a close race.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Started playing the Medium on Game Pass. I didn't really get too far into it. I basically did the little intro, and from what I can tell, I don't know if I'm going to continue playing it or not, because it doesn't seem that interesting to me. I like the parallel world thing is cool, but it looks kind of janky.
Yeah, the Medium doesn't seem to equal the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
You have this cool gimmick with her being able to like see the other world and like interact with spirits. It's got kind of a horror, almost like a Control/Alan Wake vibe, like that type of game.
Right.
You know, an interesting conceit. Did you get to the abandoned building that you eventually get to, where the bulk of the game takes place?
No, I literally think I got out of the funeral home.
Fair enough. Yeah, I would give it maybe another couple hours to make sure, like once you do the first chase sequence, I would say that would be a good place to make a decision on it. But me personally, I kind of decided it wasn't for me. I wasn't super interested in it. Have you played the Medium, Andrew?
I have not. Like, I am the worst person to ask for all of this. Like,
hey, that's why we have you. That's why we have you riding shotgun. We need that perspective. So,
right.
That's the thing. Is I'm old school because all the games that I enjoy, they relax me, and I'm not interested in being all hyped up with a game.
Yeah, you don't like horror games.
Yeah.
I don't. I mean, I like Resident Evil, and that's about as far as I go.
So
I don't
like
want to first.
JRPGs?
I do like JRPGs, and I do like things like BioShock and anything with like a shooting. If it's shooting and horror, I'm down with. But like if it's like a mystery horror, and also there gets a stage and a point where something is just too creepy for me, and it's too like out there for me, and it just doesn't do it. When you start going into things like Slender Man, it's not for me.
No, thank you.
I got you.
Because I would like to sleep at night.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm into those things, but I totally get why that would turn people off. So yeah, a lot of our friend podcasts that do gaming, a lot of them are they're like, no horror for us, please. So
Right.
we've been dubbed horrors correspondents. So I got to brush up. In fact, every Friday night for like the longest, until recently when I did a shake up, even though I'm still playing a horror game on Friday. I used to play horror games exclusively on Fridays. So I don't know why I do it to myself. I guess I like the rush.
Right. The last game that I played is called Cluster Truck, and it is also on Game Pass. And I just kind of downloaded to see what it was about. At first, I thought that you're supposed to be controlling the semi-trucks. So basically what it is there's like 15 to 20 semi-trucks, and they just all start driving crazily. And I'm thinking I'm like first person view controlling a truck. No, you're first person controlling a person that's running on top of the trucks. And you like jump super high to each truck, and then you cross a finish line. It's basically a mobile game, if I'm honest. It's literally just a mobile game. It's quick.
That's what
short
it looked like to me. I never really touched it. Yeah.
See,
quick,
this
short
is
burst of
perfect
fun.
for me. This is perfect.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I play because I'm going to get completely plastered on my Friday night because I don't have a real job and I'll waste like 6 hours doing this. And then I'll be like, oh, snap, I got to actually write an interview. And then I'll be like, it's 2 a.m. I could write an interview now. And then, you know,
Or I can play Cluster.
There you go. We found one. All right.
Right.
See, this is perfect for me.
Right? That's all I've been playing. I think that Mike is going to have something that he's been playing that you would be very interested in. But Mike, what you been playing?
No. We can stop right there. I'm good. We're doing cluster truck. I'm perfectly fine with that.
All right. Well, then once you get done with Cluster Truck, take notes, come back to these other ones if you hear anything interesting. I played a few games, not quite as many as you. I played Into the Pit. If you remember when we were covering E3 and some of the indie games that were coming out, Into the Pit was that game that I thought looked like somebody was just vomiting Skittles all over the screen. But it's supposed to be like a horror Eldritch title. So like you shoot magic spells out of your hands and there's like demons and stuff that you fight in first person. Somehow the art style and the graphics look even worse when you're playing it. Yeah, it looks like hot garbage.
No.
The kind of pixel style doesn't really fit with the design and makes everything look mangled and hard to define. You rocket across the map even faster than Doom Guy. Like, it's kind of insane. And there are abilities you can pick up during your runs, because it's basically a roguelike, that will increase your movement speed even faster. When I saw one of those, I was like, who the hell would choose this? Because it's almost too fast. I had a little bit of fun with it, but overall it was kind of samey and repetitive. It was hard to look at. It was ugly. I'm sounding really harsh on the game, and I feel bad because people put a lot of heart into it, obviously. Somebody worked on this game, so I don't want to go really hard at it and go, you suck and everything you do is sucks. But
you already called their baby ugly. I don't know.
Right? But no, it's just, I feel like some tweaking needs to be done with the graphical fidelity and the art style. I think if they would have pulled some things back and shored other things up, it would have kind of hit with me personally better. It's on Game Pass, so there's not really a huge, like, it's super fast to download, so it's not a huge investment to try out if you're at all curious about a Doom-like shooter where you shoot spells out of your hands at a bunch of demons, you know, and run through levels like a roguelike. If that's your jam, it's not a big investment to check out. Not for me. I played a little bit of Minecraft for like the very first time in my life this week because one of the friends of the podcast had recommended that I try that with my 5-year-old son. So he played a good amount of it, and I kind of helped him through in creator mode. He had a good time. He played it for like a full day, and then he wanted to go back to it again, but he wanted me to play it. So he's back to watching me play, which is something my son prefers to do rather than play the games himself. So Minecraft is Minecraft. There's nothing I can say about it that would be any kind of a new or spicy or hot take that somebody else hasn't said before, other than zombies still chase you in creative mode, and it's kind of funny. And they actually scared my kid, which I thought was funny. I was like, you're scared of these guys? Wow. Fair enough.
Yes, Dad.
And then, inspired by that, I decided to try out Dragon Quest Builders 2, because I really had fun with the first one.
I saw you playing that.
Yeah, it's great. It's a little bit more heavy on the story because it picks up where Dragon Quest Builders 1 left off as far as you defeating the Dark Lord. He's like reincarnated as a character that you play alongside, which is weird. And he lost all his memories, so his name is Malroth, and he doesn't know that he's the Dark Lord. But he says stuff like, she's annoying. Should we kill her? We should probably kill her, right? You know, and you're like, let's not do that. He's very edgelord and dark, but also he's your helper. And what's cool is when you're collecting, like if you're bashing into a mountain to get supplies or whatever, or materials to build, he sees you doing that, and he starts doing it too. So you collect resources at twice the speed. If you're fighting, he'll jump in and fight with you, and he's a lot more effective at fighting than you are. So he's like this helper that kind of travels with you, and I feel like obviously that's going to come to a head when he realizes that he's a Dark Lord and you're a builder and you guys are diametrically opposed. But for now, So it's probably something I'm going to get into once I have like less on my plate, but I'm glad I got a little taste because now in the back of my mind, I know that's one I definitely want to revisit. I have started a new series. Listeners of the podcast know Favorite Keep Delete is where I go through my handheld and Burnic, which has all those lovely ROMs from the Sega Genesis, Super Nintendo, MAME, Final Burn, Neo, PlayStation, N64, like all that. and I'm just randomly playing a ROM off of it and asking the fans out there, do I favorite, keep, or delete this game? I did 2 episodes this week since the last time we talked. I played Splatterhouse for the arcade, and that remains to be great. What, again, can I say about Splatterhouse other than it's a brawler where you wear a Jason mask and you smack zombies into the background and they splatter all over the wall? Hence, Splatterhouse. There you go. It's great. If you love brawlers and you love horror themes in your old school side-scrolling video games, you really probably already know about it. I also played another brawler called Knights of the Round, which is something that was released by Capcom. And again, I played the arcade version. This has been re-released again and again on like PS2, on Switch, you name it. So not hard to get. It's a little rudimentary and basic, but it's solid. The movement is good, and it's got a unique premise. It's Knights of the, it's Sir Lancelot, Percival, King Arthur. That's who you're playing as, and you're just going around kicking ass as those particular characters. Good stuff. Right. I beat Back 4 Blood this week, which is that spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead. And it took some strategizing to get through that last boss. And the last boss reminded me a lot of like the end boss and like Gears 2 or 3. Like really massive, kind of changes up the gameplay a bit. It's a good time. We went back and started like the first level in the medium difficulty. And I think on the second stage, we got bodied immediately. And we were like, okay, let's go back and get some more cards, which is what you buy with the points you gain by playing the game. And those cards, of course, augment your abilities. It's like, let's get more points and buy more cards before we try the medium difficulty. Because it's, even with a 4-person coordinated team, it gets tough if you don't have the right deck set up to augment your play style. We're enjoying it. I will continue to invite you periodically, so be ready for that.
And I will continue to be doing other things. Like, it's not that, like I said, when we played that one time, I enjoyed it. I really did. But the whole time, I'm like, wow, I could certainly be playing something single player right now.
We're going to get you in multiplayer one way or the other.
I am like a super introvert. Like,
I know.
Honestly, period. But especially when it comes to video games, like I want to play my game by myself.
I get you. And I can relate. I think a lot of people can relate, because for a lot of people, including us, video games are what we use to recharge our batteries, what we use to reset. We get drained, and introverts know this. You get drained by social interactions, whether you're good at them or not. Because a lot of a common misconception of introverts is that you're not good at being an extrovert. You are. It just takes more energy. You feel it physically when you're done interacting with people. And introverts have different techniques for recharging their batteries. And video games is what we do. So I totally get why you wouldn't want to mix that with interacting with people all the time. What about you, Andrew? What recharges your batteries, sir?
Typically, what would I do? I don't work usually on Thursdays. Starting at 8 o'clock, I'll pour myself rum and Coke. I'll drink that. Maybe I'll pour myself another strong one. And then I watch wrestling. And then I watch like 2 hours of anime or TV show. And that's usually what recharges me, is that I don't do any work for my personal stuff. That usually helps. And then I'm back in the fray again.
A man of culture.
All that sounds great. Just pouring a rum and Coke, watching anime for hours.
Yeah, Derek, you can do all these things.
I can, but I also have a 5-year-old
who goes to bed. Do all the things after she goes to bed.
I mean,
you got to recharge your batteries. It's important.
And I don't really care if there's $1 million deal. If you send it to me on Thursday, it's not going to sign until Friday.
Okay. Well, if anybody listening wants to send me one of those $1 million deals, I will sign it on Thursday.
Fair enough. Well, yeah, I get the point of you have to hold that time that you have for yourself sacred, because you can really burn yourself out easily when you're working for yourself. And Derek, I know you can relate to that. It's a marathon, not a race. You got to make sure that you can make it to the end, wherever that may be defined for you. So totally respect that. The last game that I played this week is Tales of Arise. This is probably the most appreciated, anticipated, and celebrated JRPG of the year. For good reason. Yes. I'm enjoying it very much. So I think it might be the first Tales game that I actually finish. That's the anime opening. I have some thoughts so far because I've beaten 2 lord. Like the game is you're going around liberating areas that are lorded over by these lords that oppress the people, and I've beaten 2 of the lords. There are owls that you can find throughout the game that give you like costume pieces if you find them. So they might be wearing like wolf ears or an eye patch, and if you find them, they'll fly off, and then you get access to that costume piece. The owls have human voices, and it's freaking me out. What's up with that?
Who?
It's like who? And I'm like, who is that? What is happening?
Is that?
What is that? That is weird and really quirky.
It's hilarious, though.
What I do appreciate about this game, it can be pretty tough depending on the difficulty. I'm playing it on hard right now, which I think is like the second highest because they did a downloadable difficulty called Unknown, which is like, hey, I mean, at your own risk. Seriously,
right?
We're gonna give it to you. X gonna give it to you.
Right.
So I don't do that, but I do hard, and I get a little extra, like juice from the battles, so to speak, to spend on abilities. The game does a really good job of warning you when a tough fight is about to come up. The characters where we literally go, if it's like an animal in the wild, they go, that over there you can't handle. Don't do it. I'm like, oh,
right.
Well, that's nice of you. And you can kind of tell because they're huge and there's like lightning surrounding them. And I'm like, this guy looks tough. And they'll do the same thing for bosses. They telegraph boss fights so hard in this game, and I really appreciate it. There are some games that'll catch you off guard, and they're as hard as these games, and then it's just like, when was the last time I saved? Oh my god. I mean, luckily it does do checkpointing as well as manual saves like most modern games do, but I just appreciate that there's little quality of life features where it recognizes that you are, in fact, in a video game. There's another feature where you can set abilities to be tagged, so when you gain enough ability points to purchase that ability, a little notification will pop up on screen. This notification is very small, and at first I didn't know where it was popping up, but after a while of using it, I was like, okay, it shows up over here. I'm looking for it now. And again, that's a quality of life thing I appreciate. And the combat in this game continues to be really good. I'm up to a 4-person party now, so it's full. People are yelling their anime lines, just screaming them at me and the screen and the monsters during fights. It's hella hectic, but a lot of fun. I definitely think I'm going to go through and finish this game. So if you're looking for a decent JRPG to play, you like your JRPGs of the action variety, and you haven't checked out Tales of Arise, as somebody who's more discerning, who did not like Scarlet Nexus, and has a low lid limit for anime bullshit, I actually really enjoy this game.
Yeah. See, I'm probably going to love this game because I'm an anime weeboo. It's like I grew up on anime.
Oh, well, it's then, amazing. Yeah, it's chock full of that. Just somebody dies and somebody goes, I'm like, why'd you scream like that? It's just, this person like finds out what their name is and they just scream it. My name is Mike. Mike! Yeah, the little baby dog. She's like, you know what my name is? At this point, I think it would be good to get into gaming news. So let's slide on over and talk about the news of the week. Bark, bark, gaming news.
Gaming news.
Music pending. I was actually speaking with somebody on TikTok recently that wanted to do some stuff for us, so look forward to that. Now, there was a state of play this week, and usually we'll save those types of things towards the end of the news cycle, but I thought we'd just go ahead and get it out of the way because I'm going to be honest, Sony's state of play this week was not super exciting to me, and there was no Final Fantasy news, which I'm very angry about.
It was extremely lackluster.
Yeah. I mean, there were some interesting tidbits here and there. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly run through what was announced, and then we can give our thoughts on anything that we find relevant. We had Deathverse, Let It Die. That's coming to PS4, PS5 next year. We Are OFK, PS4, PS5 2022. Bugsnax, free expansion called The Isle of Big Snacks, early 2022. Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach this December. Death's Door, November 23rd. That's already out on Xbox and PC, by the way, so this is a PlayStation release. However, if you pre-order it for PlayStation, you get Titan Souls for free, and there's some talk on the PlayStation blog about how this game is really taking an advantage of the DualSense features in the haptic feedback on the controller. So, of note. Kart Rider Drift, there's a beta in December. King of Fighters 15, beta test next month. First Class Trouble, looks like a 3D version of Among Us. That's coming out for PS Plus next month. Actually, this Tuesday.
Yeah.
Star Ocean: The Divine Force, PS4 and PS5 next year, and Little Devil Inside. It's just coming to PS4, PS5. I didn't see a release date on that. So, of those games, anything speaking to you guys?
Before, when they first showed Little Devil Inside, I was like, oh, wow, this looks really interesting and cool.
Mm-hmm.
But after seeing that gameplay trailer, I was like, oh, wow, this doesn't look interesting or cool.
Really? I kind of thought it was
I don't know
interesting.
what it is.
I like the art style. Like I like, you know how like an Octopath Traveler, everything was diorama, like that HD 2D kind of style that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
I really feel like that speaks to me just on an aesthetic level, and I like a playset style graphics. And when you pan out and The Devil Inside, it looks like little wooden toys that you would play with, like little classic style toys. And then when you zoom in, you have various gameplay elements. And yeah, I mean, it looks basic, but it looked fun and interesting. What about it kind of turned you off?
I don't know. The combat looks kind of
Just kind of basic.
Overworld map. Yeah, it just looked real basic. It didn't look like it was going to be for me. And that's okay.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, for me, it just feels like it's already been done. And like, I don't feel like it's anything new.
Mm.
Obviously, I haven't looked at it in depth, maybe the way you two have, but what I've seen of it briefly, it's just like, there's nothing that's popping out at me.
Feels pretty derivative.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the same shit over again.
That's fair.
I'll pass.
Yeah, the miniature style graphics is getting the side eye from me, but I get what you guys are saying. So we'll see if it turns into anything later on when it comes out, whenever that's going to be. Because again, it's like one of the few things announced that didn't really give us a specific date. Anything else speak to you guys?
Star Ocean, the Divine Force. So I can't believe that they're making this. I for sure thought that the Star Ocean series died with Integrity and Faithlessness because it was so ill-received.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it made any money. And I don't think anyone finished it.
Yeah, no one finished the Star Ocean. We've discussed this. I will say that it looks gorgeous. And they did a good job retaining the art style while upgrading the graphics. So kudos on that. The movement style looked really interesting and looked new for the series. Unless they did it in the previous version.
No, they didn't.
What was that, Hope? Did they do that in the previous version? No? I didn't think so. No. Not even Hope has finished Star Ocean. Right. What's that? Your favorite one was The Last Story. That's fair. I dug that one too. Do you still have your PS2? I wouldn't want to talk about it either. I understand. I miss mine. No one's going to finish it. This is true. But the movement style kind of, again, it has me a little interested. I'm really leery. It's probably going to be something I'll sit on and wait for reviews like I did with Tales of Arise. So if I know if enough people, they're like, you should probably check it out. And then maybe I will. Otherwise, I don't mind letting it pass me by if I need to. What else?
I'm going to check it out when it's cheap.
Yeah, when it's cheap. What else? What else spoke to you, if anything?
Oh, that was it.
That was it? Okay. What about you, Andrew? Anything jump out at you from the state of play?
Nothing really from the state of play. I mean, Five Nights at Freddy's is going to do well because it's Five Nights at Freddy's.
People are obsessed with that franchise.
I'm indifferent to it, and it doesn't bother me one way or the other. But I just know that it's going to do well in that regard. And
what's that, Hope?
My dog's having a fit.
The politics with the creator? Well, that could cause an issue. Well, I know. I mean, what he chooses to do with his money, it's going to bother some people, and other people are not going to care. Well, of course. Well, I don't have an investment in the franchise either, Hope, so I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I would agree with your father, though, that, I mean...
I'm just going to let her out.
That's fine. She's like, look, I want to stick around and be on the podcast with you guys, but I got to go to the bathroom.
Right.
All right. While Hope is doing her thing, let me just wrap up by saying that other than what you guys already said, the only thing I think of note is the First Class Trouble. Like, if people dig the Among Us style gameplay, First Class Trouble is coming out for PS Plus, so low investment to check it out. A few betas, in the form of Cartwriter and King of Fighters. I did really enjoy We Are OFK. The line at the opening of We Are OFK where he was like, war is not about politics or race or imperialism. That made me chuckle. But it looks like a dating sim music rhythm game. I have no idea what that game is.
I don't know either. I was like, why is this here? What is happening?
Yeah. I mean, it was just like their indie spotlight. I get it. Because they have a bad rep for not supporting indies, so they're trying to turn that around.
Right.
So we'll see if that does anything. So yeah, nothing really noteworthy.
Isn't even this State of Play, though, really not the biggest story that's dropped? Because isn't the Resident Evil Oculus stuff coming?
Yeah, I mean...
Because that dropped today, right?
Did it?
I think it did.
You're talking about Resident Evil 4 on Oculus, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like one of the greatest games. I'm into that. And obviously, I know people who are really into virtual gaming.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, seems like a bigger story than anything of this State of Play. Well, Resident Evil 4 has a legacy. And, well, let's be realistic. We're all going into virtual gaming anyway.
From what I've heard, it's fine because it's Resident Evil 4. Of course it's fine. But interestingly enough, there are some actions that you have to do where you have to like touch your body because you have some equipment on your body. That's how they're kind of doing the attaché case, so to speak. And people with boobs are punching themselves in the chest because it seems like they didn't playtest anybody that had boobs. Like, wow. Which I find... Again, a really good argument for having a diverse development team, or at least a diverse testing team.
So I'll give you what I'm doing in my job. I'm right now in a training program that is for a digital accessibility specialist. Mm-hmm. And this is right up in its alley. Mm-hmm. Because clearly, this is what maybe not a digital accessibility specialist would deal with per se, but somebody in this sector and in this, I guess, skill set would say, I'm a VR digital specialist. And, I didn't hear about that, but this is exactly right up where I'm going to be in my job and what is important in video games, because it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's almost like the kind of business equivalent of like a business analyst, somebody that comes in and goes, okay, you have some gaps here, and here's where your blind spots are, and here's how you can mitigate for those blind spots. And in this case, it would be, guys, you have to account for more than just one body type. Right. So yeah, it's a growing field, and I've been hearing a lot about accessibility options in various games. I can't remember which game it was, but there was a game I heard about recently that had not only so you can pick different difficulty modes. I think it was Guardians of the Galaxy, which we're going to get into in a second. In fact, I'll bring that up next since we're already talking about it. But Guardians of the Galaxy, not only can you pick different difficulty modes, but then you can customize the difficulty to adjust how much grinding you do, how aggressive enemies are, and a myriad of other options. Like, it's really robust. So if there's certain parts of a game that you struggle with and other parts that you're good with, you're not gatekeeped out of the content. I mean, there's that whole philosophy of get good, and that's fine. But what's funny to me, and I know I'm not the first person to say this, video games are the only medium that you can purchase something from, like entertainment medium, like movies, music, whatever, that actually skill gatekeeps you out of 100% of its content. There are people who can buy a game and just they're not skillful enough to see 100% of that game. So when we talk about accessibility options that allows you to tweak and customize the experience in that level of depth, that's going to open up games to a wider audience and range and really kind of bring in, more people that can enjoy our favorite hobby. I'm all about it. So
to even go further into that, and I'm not the expert on it, but one of the people who's doing this training is sort of an expert on it. And I think it's going to be such an interesting, discussion at some point, is that he sort of specializes and talks about accessibility with controllers. And, that's a whole interesting thing, and it's actually super interesting what you brought up about video games, because something similar is going on with cosplay right now, where there's a big issue, and I've been saying it, where cosplay is for everyone, and whether you make your costume or you buy it, it's still cosplay. Sure. It's such a cool space, though. What's going on in video games and what they're doing and where it's going is going to be fascinating.
Yeah, again, I feel like we're all enriched the more people that have access to and can appreciate the thing that you're into, because that's perspective and that just makes things better, in my opinion. So yeah, I'm all about accessibility. And Guardians of the Galaxy, I don't know if you guys have been seeing the headlines here. We've been kind of whatever the game, right? Because it's from Square Enix and they screwed up Marvel's Avengers. It's actually good. People are saying it's good. Like people that I trust. Critics that I follow, and then others that I don't. But everybody, I mean, it's just unanimously, people are like, no, Guardians is actually pretty good. And I'm pleasantly surprised by that. Now, am I going to go pick it up right now? No, because I still feel like Square Enix is going to do the Square Enix thing where they have a game out and then they drop the price in literally like 2 months. So,
You're right.
like, of the major publishers, Square Enix is one of the ones that I feel like drops the price on their games really quickly. I mean, Tomb Raider, the entire series, practically fell in my lap. I made no effort to go out and get it, and I have all of them, and I had them pretty quickly. So I feel like, and again, even though Marvel's Avengers was kind of a bomb, that you can explain that away as far as why you can buy it for like $20 off their website, I feel like Guardians will still not depreciate in value, but I think they'll be eager to sell it at a lower price sooner than you would normally expect.
I'm going to pick it up soon.
You think so? Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, maybe the other side of that is I should go pick it up at full price and tell Square Enix, hey, I support what you did here.
Right,
you know?
this is what I want.
This is what I want. Here's my money. I'm voting with my wallet. That's a good counter argument to that. But yeah, no, it's got me, I'm thinking about it now. I'm thinking about it a lot because of how much people are enjoying it. Speaking of enjoying and not enjoying video games, I am known notoriously, I heard on Gamer Friend's most recent episode they dropped today, they're like, only person I know that doesn't like Metroid Dread is Mike from Player 2. I was like, whoops. It's spreading. I haven't had a chance to play more of it, so I can like it, but you can play more of it because this week, Nintendo dropped a demo for Metroid Dread. So if you didn't have the 60 bones to drop on it, or you were having trouble finding the right version that you wanted, like a certain friend in the UK, who I'm going to tell a story about that in a second. It's a happy ending there. You can try out the demo to see if you're like me and you're not really into it, or you are into it, and then solidify that opinion before you purchase it, which I'm all about. We talked about a couple of weeks ago, Danielle from Danielle's Games. She was waiting on the special edition in the UK and she couldn't find it. I did find on Amazon UK a restock of the special editions. I immediately reached out to her. She got online and she got her a copy. So happy ending there. Danielle was obsessed with getting Metroid Dread, the special edition, and she got herself a copy. So yay, congratulations, Danielle's Games.
Yeah.
All right, other news. Returnal update recently. So Returnal, that kind of roguelite on PlayStation 5 by Housemarque, or Housemarque. Is it pronounced Housemarque or Housemarque?
It might be Marquee.
Who knows?
More fancy.
At any rate, they added a photo mode, which is cool, but more importantly, they added a suspend cycle mode, which, God, I wish I had that while I was playing. So with your roguelikes that are longer, like when your runs last more than an hour or two, and you have to, I don't know, live your life. You have to go do other things. People were really frustrated because they would try to suspend their PlayStation 5 and then a power outage would happen, or they would update the game and it would restart your run and you would lose your run. Well, now with Suspend Cycle, you can literally save, this is a thing that's been in mobile games forever, like DS and Game Boy Advance and whatever, right? But they've added it to this game and I'm very appreciative of that. So if you got a little bit turned off by the fact that your runs would be wasted, don't worry about that. We can suspend the cycle now. This might be of interest to you, Andrew. We got some interesting games that dropped on Game Pass recently. I don't know if you had a chance to check any of these out. Some of them are pretty big. Age of Empires 4 dropped this week, and that's pretty big for people in the strategy RPGs. Alan Wake's American Nightmare, which is kind of the side arcade game to Alan Wake. Backbone, Bassmaster Fishing 2022, Non-Guns, the Doppelganger Edition, and then one notable game that I thought was interesting that I want to try, The Forgotten City, which, if you don't recall, The Forgotten City was a game famously based on a Skyrim mod, of all things. Yeah, and I never really got a chance to try it out. I haven't been big into PC gaming until like just recently, and really not into the mod scene at all. So I'm really keen on looking up The Forgotten City and seeing what that's all about, especially as a moderately sized Skyrim fan. So yeah. Finally, the last piece of news, I thought this was kind of interesting. There is rumored to be a Wu-Tang game in development. Wu-Tang. Now, this has been leaked by several reputable outlets, including IGN and Destructoid. So it's not just something I saw on like Screen Rant or comicbook.com, although it's there too. They reported on it first, and then other people picked it up and went, no, this is actually legit. It's rumored to be a 4-player co-op action RPG made by a company called Brass Lion Entertainment. Now, I find the developer interesting. They're a newer studio that focuses on fictional universes that center on Black, brown, and other traditionally marginalized characters, cultures, and stories. And I found that in the video game world, to have a developer specifically focused on people of color to be an interesting thing, and that they're partnering with Wu-Tang. There's a good pedigree here. There are developers and founders and artists from people who worked on Mass Effect 3, Def Jam Vendetta, Sleeping Dogs, Skyrim, Fallout 3. There's a pedigree here.
Right.
So I would say, fans of hip-hop, fans of co-op action RPGs, keep an eye out, because this might be one to watch. More details as they come through. We'll be watching those rumors closely.
Wu-Tang getting another game after 25 years?
Wu-Tang!
Wu-Tang did have a game on PS1 as a fighting game.
Yeah. This one's...
Just in case y'all didn't know.
This one's codenamed Shaolin, so I wonder if they're going to try to incorporate some of that, or maybe have some Easter eggs. Who knows?
Right.
Actually, there's one more story, and this is something I wanted to mention because it's kind of big this week, and it's surrounding Nintendo Switch Online. Andrew, do you have a Switch?
I don't. I just have my Xbox, and it's kind of nice. It works.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I think the Switch fills that. I mean, again, with the pandemic, it's not so much because I don't travel as much, but having that level of gaming on the go has been really nice. I played my Switch on trains, planes, and automobiles. It's been great. But recently they announced for Switch Online at an increased price, a decently sized increased price, but still cheap overall, that you can play N64 games and Sega Genesis games in addition to Super Nintendo and Nintendo games on their Switch Online service. I mean, everybody was really excited, myself included. I've played a little bit this week. I played Sin and Punishment. I've played Super Mario 64, Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, Dr. Mario, Mario Kart. Everything ran great. I had a really good time with it. But then I saw on the internet that a lot of people were complaining about bugs, glitches, lack of compatibility controller-wise with certain games as far as like being able to remap them so they make sense. Some games need a controller pack to literally save data for certain game modes. And if they don't sense it, they don't let you access the game mode at all. And apparently these are the versions of the games ripped for Nintendo Switch Online. So for example, in Mario Kart, you can save like ghost track times, but you have to put in that pack, but it won't let you because there's no place to put it in. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and also people have been saying that online is laggy as all get out. And that's the one thing I haven't had a chance to test is online yet. Nintendo Switch Online overall has always been a little dodgy, but I find it interesting that it can't even handle these games. Right? Hope knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, my dog knows what's going on.
She is a big fan of N64, and I'm not mad at her.
She's having a fit. Having a fit. That's what's going on. Hear something and it's not pleasant. So there you go.
Yeah. She's hearing the lamentations and cries of Nintendo fans nationwide who aren't getting the optimal emulation that they want. As far as Nintendo 64, I'm going to keep watching to see if they do any updates, and I'll report on the podcast if I have any personal issues. I'm going to try to do some online this week so I can get a more well-rounded view. But yeah, needless to say, Nintendo fans aren't happy. What else is new? Listener questions. So last week we talked about video game movies. They're iffy at best. Most get critically panned. And Ron B wanted to know what games with the right hands, the right cast, the right directors, the right situation could be Oscar worthy, could be the best movie ever. And I discussed briefly my idea for an Uncharted casting and how that would go. And I left the door open for listeners to chime in and for Derek, for you to discuss yours. And of course, I gave that question to you as well, Andrew. Did either of you come up with a video game movie pitch or something that you'd like to see?
Yeah. I know the question said like Oscar worthy or best movie ever, but let's be honest, we're decades away from a video game movie being Oscar worthy. But
are we? No, I'm gonna push back. I'm pushing back for 1 second. The reason why I say that is that I would make the argument. I would make the same argument when Batman Begins and the Batman and Christopher Nolan movies came out. Those movies were Oscar worthy. I don't know if we're decades away. I think we might be a decade away.
Right around the corner.
Okay. Yeah, and to be fair, people who grew up with video games and take them more seriously, they're getting older and they're having more influence in those circles. And you also have the big upset or surprise when Return of the King sweep the Oscars. And I don't think many fantasy movies prior to that won that many awards. So, I mean, we're seeing a lot of glass ceilings being broken. You know what I mean? So, Who knows? But that said, whether it's Oscar worthy or not, what do you want to see? What do you want to see?
I want to see a Gears of War movie.
Okay.
Starring, because Gears 5 reignited my passion for Gears, and that there are beautiful stories that can be told in that universe. I want Dave Bautista playing Marcus Phoenix, which is funny because you can already get a Dave Bautista skin in Gears 5 where he is Marcus Phoenix. So boom,
Nailed
you
it.
already got that going on.
Yep.
I want Goldberg. Yes, Bill Goldberg from WCW playing Baird, because he looks exactly like that man.
All right. Everybody's wrestlers. I got it.
Right. Everybody's not wrestlers.
Okay.
There's one more wrestler on the list, but we're not going to talk.
Of course it is.
I would also get Kumail Nanjiani, who has played opposite of Dave Bautista in, oh God, what was that movie?
In the Immortals?
He's in Eternals.
Are you Eternals?
He's in
Sorry.
Eternals.
Eternals?
Stuber. That's what it was. Stuber is actually a really good movie.
Oh, okay.
And you should see it. It's a good comedy.
Yeah. And he's ripped
Ving
right now,
Rhames.
so he could totally be in it.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Ving Rhames, he's in there. He's
Coltrane?
old, but he's in there. Yeah, exactly. Coltrane, baby! Woo! And to add some like real pedigree to it, we're going to throw Mahershala Ali in there, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, like he can bulk up. The characters don't necessarily have to be super huge.
Yeah, some of the newer
Some
school
of the
heroes
characters
aren't like bags of meat. I get it. Yeah.
Right.
All right.
On the lady side, we're getting Zoe Saldana in there because she's shown that she can kick ass.
Okay.
We're getting Idris Elba in there. And then finally John Cena, because I like the way they played off of each other in the Suicide Squad. Speaking of the Suicide Squad, James Gunn is directing this Gears of War movie.
Of course.
Right. He's shown that he knows how to do an ensemble movie and make it work, make it fun, make it action-packed. That's what I want to see, a James Gunn directed Gears of War movie starring all these beautiful people on this list.
That sounds fantastic. I love it.
Right?
I love it. I would go to see that movie. I'd be excited for that movie.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Andrew, what do you have to say about this? What is your ideal movie based on a game that you love? We already had a Sonic the Hedgehog movie. We got a Sonic 2 coming out.
Actually good.
Well,
With Idris Elba in it, in fact. So, what else you got for us?
I want a Gears of War movie with Dave Bautista, Goldberg in it.
Right? He was like, I like that.
Derek, it's $1 million idea.
See, it'd be really funny if I repeated the entire thing with the same entire word for word thing. And
Are you just over there geeking out about a Gears of War movie with all your favorite wrestlers?
No.
It's not a bad pitch. I got it.
It's not a bad pitch.
I
I just thought it would be really, really funny to just repeat the entire thing and then be like, oh, I heard that before. That who said that? I wonder, you know? But no, I would like to see I would like to see an Overwatch movie.
Huh. Okay. I know
And-
you wouldn't be the only
that's
one,
right.
for sure.
I think we could have somebody like Ronda Rousey, maybe as a Tracer or as a Farah would be cool in there. You know, obviously you could probably put Bill Goldberg as like Reinhardt. I think would be very interesting, and doing him because obviously he's jacked, and also when Reinhardt takes off his helmet, put a wig on Bill Goldberg, there you go. And then you know, you could just have a bunch of people in there that I think would be really, really interesting. Emily Blunt, I think, could be a really cool diva. There's so many people, and what I like about what you could do with this Overwatch, you can have a huge ensemble cast, but the difference is that you also don't have to utilize every single character because Overwatch has a lot of components. You could just do the Black Watch, you know, stuff, and you could go the Reaper style. You could even play off the idea of why Reaper is working, you know, with the bad guys at this point, and even leading up to all of that. And so there's just a lot of stuff you can do with it that will give a lot of story. And Overwatch is huge right now. Or you could just do an entire Tracer story because we already have the groundwork for that with the Overwatch comics.
Yeah.
So
Mortal Kombat's had some success with that. Just focus, you know, it has a ton of characters to pull from. It focuses on a few as far as the main characters, and then uses other characters as they would service the story or as background or reference, right?
yeah,
So,
and I mean,
yeah.
also the other thing about Overwatch that would work as well is that they have Overwatch Legos already. And so Overwatch is already licensed enough. There's a built-in audience that would swallow it up. And then if you made that thing canon, you're just completing and really merchandising your entire position. And so it doesn't even matter anymore how the movie does. From a business standpoint, it makes sense because it gives everything else the ability to be merchandised and gives everything else in relation to it a boost, whether the movie is successful or not. And that's the key that I think is so important. And doing it live action, I mean, who's going to be not wanting to say, man, I want to see this Overwatch movie and it's going to bomb, but I'm going to go see it anyway. Because that's the play there. But I think they could do a really good job with it.
Well, I thought on it some more this week myself, and I really want to see, and we may even get this one day because I feel like a lot of people would be pushing for it. I kind of want to see a Metal Gear Solid movie. It would either be a story about Old Snake and the future of war, so we could set it slightly ahead, so that way all the tech and stuff would make more sense, because, you know, it is kind of a sci-fi war type of game. So with Old Snake, you could do Kurt Russell because he is older and he's kind of one of the inspirations for Snake. Mm-hmm. Or you could do a younger Snake, but still set it in the future and maybe even have it played by David Hayter, because David Hayter, I think, could fit that role, even though he's traditionally a voice actor. I think he could do it. Yeah, and as far as music, the score would be Harry Gregson Williams, just like in the games, because that would translate perfectly. The director of a movie like that, I think, would probably be best served as maybe like Ridley Scott, kind of pulling from his Gladiator days, or recently with that, what was that movie with the duel Matt Damon and Ben Affleck wrote? You know what I'm talking about? It just came out.
No, I don't.
It's not doing so hot, but I'm blaming that more on pandemic than anything, because it's aimed at older people, and older people aren't wanting to go back to the theaters yet. Mm. But he's been hit or miss, but I feel like if we could tap into the Gladiator days of Ridley Scott, we could have a good sci-fi war film. Or, I mean, James Cameron might be another good pick for that.
I think it should be directed by Hideo Kojima.
Okay, Hideo Kojima, but James Cameron comes in to save him from himself, because an auteur unleashed gets Death Stranding, and I don't want any more of that. Right. But no, I think having Hideo Kojima heavily involved, especially with the writing and the action scenes, not a terrible idea. I don't know if any of our ideas are Oscar worthy, but I think that they would satisfy fans, and I think a lot of people would come out to see them. So hopefully that satisfies your question, Ron B. None of us are cinema experts, although I do love me some movies, let me tell you. But yeah, keep them coming. Well, we're definitely feeling these movie ideas, but let me get into the last segment here, Derek. This week, I just got to know, what are you feeling?
I am feeling Chucky, the TV series.
I've never heard of this.
You haven't heard? I feel like I've talked about it before. Okay, so there's a new Chucky series on USA Sci-Fi, and it is amazing.
Based on like the doll? Like the murderous doll?
Chucky. Yes, Chucky.
Child's Play.
It's not like, Child's Play. It's not like the reboot that they tried to do where it was like an app.
I remember that with Aubrey Plaza. Yeah.
Yeah, but this, oh my God, where do I start? I'm going to start by saying that the show is so good and entertaining that I actually paid money for the latest episode on YouTube.
Oh, wow.
I don't pay money to watch anything besides like my normal streaming.
Yeah, but like pay a la carte. Yeah, I gotcha.
Yes, I don't do that. But I was like because they put the first 2 episodes free on YouTube. Okay. And they did that shit on purpose because they knew that I was going to want to keep watching that. And that usually doesn't work on me. Yeah. But this is just so good. The effects behind Chucky, like he feels like a real character and a real person. It's also hilarious. Don't get me wrong. Like it's not Oscar worthy, it's not Emmy worthy television, but there's just something about Chucky that is so endearing and just fun to watch. I love watching him. The voice actor for Chucky kills it. Absolutely kills it.
Literally and figuratively.
Right. There's a few lines from the show that I want to share with you. So there's one line where he's talking to a little girl in the base. Hey kid, I'm going to go kill your sister. Want to come? And she's like, I'm sleepy. And then he says, you snooze, you lose.
Okay, yeah, they're definitely capturing the campy spirit of the original.
Yes,
I can hear it.
The camp is definitely there. I implore everyone to go out and watch this show. If you're even been a little bit of a fan of Chucky or Child's Play, because Chucky and Child's Play, it's not scary at all. It's more comedy, it's more satirical than anything.
Yeah, it's always been about the camp, for sure.
Yeah, this show really nails it. I'm going to be paying for every single episode that comes out because I want to see it through to the end. Hi, I'm Chucky, and I'm your friend to the end. You know what I mean? So
Derek is your
I'm
fan
feeling-
to the end.
Yeah, I am feeling Chucky, the TV series on USA Sci-Fi. Go check it out. It's amazing.
Fair enough. All right, Andrew, what are you feeling this week?
So it didn't come out this week because they're taking a week off, but I'm really feeling Law and Order: Organized Crime. So for those who don't know, Christopher Melanini is Detective Elliot Stabler on SVU, and after 12 seasons, he left. And he came back into his own series, where he's part of the Organized Crime Bureau. Now it's getting very, very interesting. It's a very intense show. Obviously, they're dealing with police stuff, going into organized crimes, infiltrating, sort of mafia families. And there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's intense, and you're just nail biting the entire thing. And it's on Peacock, so you can watch it the day after it airs on Thursday night. They're coming back for episode 7 next week. I mean, some of it you have to sort of suspend disbelief, but it's an intense show, and it's not like an SVU, storyline they repeat every single week. I mean, this is long-form TV where every episode builds upon every episode.
Oh,
and it's just getting so good. It's so good, and it's so different than traditional Law and Order, where it's not a standalone story. I mean, season 1 and season 2 are, but obviously if you jump into season 2, I mean, you're getting right into the heat of everything, and it's super, super interesting.
Okay, so yeah, they kind of break from formula, and they have a narrative that they're telling over the course of seasons rather than a single episode. That's interesting.
Yeah, no, it's so good. I recommend everybody buying Peacock for like $5 to watch it.
Fair enough. All right. Well, this week I got my hands on the special edition Nintendo 64 controller released for the Nintendo Switch to play N64 games on Nintendo Switch Online. I literally just got this thing yesterday, and wow, it's really good. I normally wouldn't buy a controller because I feel like the Switch controllers and the Pro controller can imitate what I need pretty easily. It's a novelty, I guess, to have the Nintendo or the Super Nintendo controller, and then they got the Sega Genesis, but to me it wasn't necessary. But the layout and the button placement and just the feel of the N64 controller is so unique that I knew right away when they announced it, I was like, I got to get one of these if I'm going to play these games. And it does make a world of difference. I did a TikTok where I was playing Sin and Punishment using the N64 controller, and it feels like it's 1-to-1 comparison size-wise, and it feels just like the original controller. Like, I honestly, my brain can't tell the difference. So I'm super impressed with it. If you're at all a fan of the classic Nintendo games and you plan to play Nintendo Switch Online, it keeps going in and out of stock on pre-order, but it's not as hard to get as you think it would be. So if you had Nintendo Switch Online and you plan on playing the N64 games, I recommend picking it up. It's like $50. So
awesome.
All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for our show. We're going to pay our dues to Anchor real quick, and we'll be right back. Please stick around. We're going to tell you where you can find Andrew's stuff, PopAnimeComics, in just a little bit. All right, we're back. What a lovely ad that was. Now, for the listeners out there, if you're interested in checking out some of these industry interviews, some of the name drops were intriguing to you, you just want to get a little bit more of what Andrew has to offer, can you please let the people out there know where they can find you, where they can follow you, and all the platforms that you host on?
Yeah, so the easiest place to follow me is on my Facebook page, PopAnimeComics. All one word, that's PopAnimeComics. Names in the logo, so you really can't miss it. And I stream on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. I stream at 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and God forbid you miss it because we're all busy. Those episodes are up. So right now there are 90 episodes from 2020 up on Facebook, and there's 140 from this year alone. So you can go back, and for the next foreseeable few years, that library is openly available. So please like the page, check that out. But let's say that Facebook is not your jam. You are more than welcome to check me out on YouTube at PopAnimeComics as well. Again, it's the same drill, and there's a variety of other interview and other content up there that I've done over the past 10 years. Hopefully by March of 2022, I will have a podcast of Conversations in Pop Culture that will go back to the beginning, and the plan is to release about 5 episodes each week so that we catch up real quick, as well as cutting up a lot of episodes and having little bits on a separate YouTube channel. Also, you can check out some of my writing at PopAnimeComics. Also, the Kickstarter. I got a great digital bundle package, so I am selling a lot of guest spots and a lot of live reads and advertisements. But if you want 26 plus comics for 46 cents, you can actually back my project. And some of those books are Doomsday TV, which is not out, I think, till February. So you're actually going to get an advanced copy of that by my friend Ozzy Longoria. He also has another book in that package. You're going to get Hollowed by Casey Bowker. You're going to get 12 issues of the Raxton universe. So if you like mecha comics, that's 12 issues, along with some manga stuff like Demon Hunter Raven and a variety of other things. And, well, I'm the type of guy that is probably going to find at least another 8 to 10 more books to add into that digital bundle package in the next 30 days. So hopefully I'll be on Kickstarter and I'll be approved in November. You probably could type in Pop Anime Comics on Kickstarter. It will bring you up, or Pop Anime Comics 1, and it will bring you up, or Conversations in Pop Culture. I have a feeling that if you back that digital bundle package, you will not be disappointed, because it is arguably the best deal in digital bundle packs on Kickstarter right now. But beyond that, please support me, because I appreciate all support. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got. More importantly than anything else, please just obviously this show, share this show out, share my show out. Sharing is free, and I just want people to share it and see more of what I do, and obviously see what these guys do as well.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And I'll make sure to include links in the show notes for those who are interested. Now, Derek, the gamer goodies and more, it's going strong. People out there wanting to buy video games. They're interested in what you got going on. Where can they locate you at and find the stuff that you have for sale?
Yeah, so they can check out the eBay store at ebay.com/str/gamergoodies and more. We didn't really talk about this episode, but I am a online video game, vintage toy, electronic reseller. You can check my stuff out there on Instagram at gamergoodiesmore, and I'm on Twitter at goodies_more.
We upload new episodes of our podcast every single Sunday to our hub at anchor.fm/player2isenter the pod, but our podcast can be found on a variety of platforms, including Breaker, Google Podcasts, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. You can find us on all the social medias. That includes TikTok.com/@player2isenter the pod, Facebook.com/player2isenter the pod, YouTube, Player2isenter the podcast. Subscribe, click the bell for notifications, follow, Like Andrew said, it's free and it really helps us out. If you want to go a little bit further, we do have a patreon.com/player2isenter the pod, and you can contact us via social media or email us at mcpaperstacks@gmail.com if you have listener questions, guest suggestions, feedback, etc. If you want to find me personally, I'm on Twitter at MikePetersonAL, and I do Twitch streaming on Friday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/mcpaperstacks. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our show. We appreciate you coming out. We appreciate our guest very much. We love you, and we will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Peace.